Hello there! Welcome to Star Wars Warts and All, a podcast where four guys talk about Star Wars for some reason every week. And here they are. My name's Will, and with me again are my good friends Ben.
Hello.
Bill.
Hi.
And Chris.
Yep.
Sticking with the Boba quotes.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to dive too deep into the Clone Wars stuff because people wouldn't know it, but you know.
Yeah, that's a classic Boba Fett line. Can't forget about that one.
I already used Ton Wees here.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
what else? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, well, tonight we're going back into the War of the Bounty Hunters to finish up this Marvel Comics crossover event. All right, so where did we leave off in this War of the Bounty Hunters?
I don't remember.
Han Solo was captured. Han Solo, still frozen in carbonite, was captured by the Crimson Dawn, led by Han Solo's old flame, Kira. And she is throwing a big, I guess you'd call it auction event to offer Han up to the highest bidder. Boba Fett is being hunted because Jabba thinks he sold him out or whatever.
Right.
And Boba wants Han back because he always finishes the job. That's what he does. He's a man of his word.
It's part of the code. He actually mentions it at some point.
Yeah, it was a great line. I think it was like Lando. They were like saying, "Why didn't Boba Fett kill us at one point?" And Lando's just like, "I don't know. He lives by some code. You can't figure this guy out." Because we talked about it before. Like, what is his motivations? Is he good? Is he bad? But we'll get into that because there's a lot more Boba to come in this thing.
Yeah.
But I think where we left off was that guests were starting to receive their invitations to the Crimson Dawn's big kind of re-entry into the crime game by selling Han Solo off. And I believe we got to the point where Leia and the rebels get a message from Vice Admiral, I don't know what her rank is at this time, but Emmeline Holdo, made famous for the Holdo maneuver in The Last Jedi.
Everybody loves that.
Yes. Before she was shutting the sound off in movie theaters, scaring people into thinking the movie was broken. She was telling
Protection Man. Is that what we said?
Yeah. She got the news that Han was being auctioned by the Crimson Dawn. And Leia gets Lando to come help out because, frankly, he owes it to them, I think.
Right.
So they take the Millennium Falcon. It's Lando, Leia, and Chewie, and they go to this planet where they're doing this auction. Meanwhile, Vader also gets word about the auction, and he's kind of dealing with his own double crossing and dealing with the Hutts and this what's her name, Slymore, that administrator who's loyal to Palpatine.
Right.
But this is where it really gets good because all of these players literally come together at this place. So you've got Dr. Aphra, you've got Vader, you've got Boba Fett showing up with Valance and Dengar not too far behind.
Although Aphra, so I only got the second half of this. I only got to read the the main War of the Bounty Hunters line. I didn't read all the crossover comics. Does Aphra do much? Because in the main line, she doesn't really do much. Like, I expected her to be doing more because the whole like confrontation with Boba Fett, who was disguised, who she thought was a clone trooper or whatever.
Oh yeah,
They were supposed to make a distraction.
Yeah, that's a cool little thing.
And then nothing happened with her, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think once Vader showed up at the party, she got scared.
Right.
And,
and ducked out.
Yeah, and that's where I stopped reading it as well, because I realized it was mostly just going to be her own story, which I do enjoy, and I still want to get back to it, but for the purposes of the War of the Bounty Hunters, not as important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
So as they're all showing up, isn't it right before Boba Fett shows up that he fights Bosk?
Yeah, when he gets there, he's trying to get an invitation to get into this shindig, and Bosk gets the drop on him. But I think Boba ends up shooting a rocket at him, and right,
He shoots his legs off. Yeah.
He shoots the rocket off and blows off Bosk's legs. Bosk is a Trandoshan, so his legs will grow back.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
Don't worry about him. He'll be fine.
I'm not sure we ever witness any bounty hunters dying in any of this, do we? For real.
No.
No, they got to save him for later.
Nobody dies. Yeah.
Well, 4 LOM gets dismantled.
That's right. He did kind of get blown apart.
And
Permanently?
so did IG-88.
Again, he's a droid. For the time being, they'll get
Yeah.
reassembled.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. Spoilers for what's ahead. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
Shucks. But meanwhile, so Boba Fett runs into the party and he bumps into Chewie, Leia, and Lando. Just as the auction reaches a peak, the bidding ends with Jabba the Hutt offering up, what is it, 1 million?
2 million?
I think it's a million.
It was a while. I don't know.
I think it was 1 million credits for Han Solo. Yeah,
It's either 1 or 2 million. It was in the millions. Yeah.
yes, a lot of
It was a lot. It was a lot of money.
A lot more than the previous bid, just to ensure that he wins it.
Right. So then when Kira drops the hammer down or whatever, the auctioneer gavel, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Vader basically steps up and says, no, Han Solo is the property of the Empire. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our hero, Luke Skywalker, is not attending because he had another little job. It's a side quest. But after that, he gets a vision that Vader is coming for Han. So he rushes to help. So Luke is on his way. We've got Vader there, taking control of the situation. We've got Boba Fett kind of facing off with Chewie, Leia, and Lando. And then, of course, they get into it, which leads to Chewbacca getting flamethrowered.
Yeah, that was pretty graphic. I was like, oh man, he set him on fire. Like he was like on
He was
fire.
engulfed.
I was like,
head
oh
to
man,
toe.
poor Chewie.
Yeah. And people are making like comments about how it smells like burned hair.
Yeah.
And Lando has to sacrifice one of his beautiful capes to douse the flames.
Poor guy.
I think it's interesting though. After that, he looks pretty okay.
Yeah, no.
Chewbacca's fur doesn't-
The
Well,
only
he's got
reason
a lot
you
of fur.
know that he was burned was because everybody keeps making comments about how it smells.
Yeah, it only burned his winter coat. He's fine. Vader showed up to manipulate Luke to coming to fight him.
Yeah, he's
Right.
and at this point, Vader, I think we said last week, he is now committed to killing Luke.
Right.
He thinks
Right.
Luke is going to stand in his way of remaining by the Emperor's side.
It's an interesting dynamic with that whole thing, and it makes Vader seem very juvenile, which I guess matches the whole Anakin Skywalker personality more than
Yeah.
you see in the original trilogy movies with Vader. Because
And I think it's because he's been put in his place. He's back as the apprentice, and he realizes, he serves only his master, and he wants to remain there. Like, I think it's just blind loyalty. Yeah, like a dog.
yeah, but because he's like, oh, he has them connect his suit or whatever directly to Luke's X-wing. And he's like,
Right.
You need to come down here and fight me, or I'm going to cut your friend in half.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's like really, I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, he's radioing him the whole time, but it made me think there was a deleted scene, I want to say, from Return of the Jedi at the very beginning where Luke was building his lightsaber and Vader, speaks to him through the Force. And I want to say, it was initially, the idea was this was ongoing. Between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi,
Well, yeah.
Vader kept,
Well, yeah.
reaching out to Luke.
He did at the end of Empire. So
Yeah, right.
Right. So
I don't know
that
why
idea.
he would need to connect directly to the X-Wing. That's weird.
Yeah,
You would think the Force would be enough.
I
that's a
would
good
think
point. It's a weird.
But there's another great scene here where Kira, being in charge of this auction, kind of stands up to Darth Vader and actually fights him. Because
she's-
she's got some experience with Sith Lords and
She's
Vader's
a little
actually kind of
overconfident.
impressed.
Yeah.
Well, that is true because this is Darth Vader
Yeah.
talking about. And this is in this series, another thing I really like about it is they really like stress how Vader at this point is seen as unstoppable. You cannot kill him. It's like just seen as
Right.
a complete impossibility. Don't even
Yeah.
bother trying.
Just
but
the
she
name
tries.
Vader. Yeah.
And just the fact that she holds her own, I think her point was to say like, hey, the Crimson Dawn is for real. I could fight Darth Vader and win, and not win, but survive, which that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they seem to allude that she was maybe trained by Maul. Because again, this is like
Yeah,
the Solo
they definitely
sequel
dropped
that
that,
we're
yeah.
probably not going to get.
That is on
right.
Wikipedia somewhere where it says when you look up Terras Kasi, Maul taught Dryden Voss Terras Kasi,
Right.
and then he taught Kira.
Dryden Voss taught Kira, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering though if after Solo she went to
Yes.
meet up with Maul and
Yeah,
got some more
right.
training, or
Yeah,
I would say so.
Well, and she
or
says in
possibly
the comic,
fought Maul. It's not like I don't even know. We don't know what happened there. So
Yeah, because she says in the comics that she had she has experience dealing with Sith Lords or whatever, or Sith.
right. I wonder if she somehow bested Maul.
Maybe we'll see that at some point. Because
I think we're gonna get an animated show. I'm banking on it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, because between Solo and then Rebels, we see Maul like he's Crimson Dawn, and then all of a sudden he's
A crazy hermit.
some hermit on Malastare. Is it Malastare? No,
Malachor.
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 Sorry. So like, what
Did you
happened?
not listen to the podcast 2 weeks ago? Bill?
Yes, I did, but they sound similar. So
They have great pod races on Malastare.
right. Yeah, that's right. I knew it was
course.
wrong as soon as it came out of my mouth. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe you're right. Maybe she dethrones him in some way.
Yeah. I think we're going to eventually have to see that.
And so that gives her this overconfidence, like, oh, well, I bested him, so I could definitely take on Vader. He's just a Sith. But
Well, it's also publicity. Oh,
Right.
she took on Vader. Oh, they must be.
Yeah, I don't know that
powerful.
she
They
was
must be
planning
strong.
on or thinking it would be possible to kill him. I think it was
Yeah,
more
I
just to
don't think so.
make a point.
Or she
almost.
probably knew that he would never go so far as to kill her because he needed her in the long run or something. It's all strategic and political and all this stuff, but
Yeah.
she's smart enough to know that, so it works to her advantage either way.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, when Luke does arrive, he kind of
Chickens
comes
out.
to the self-realization, that he's not ready for this. He's not ready to face Vader again. He won't win. He's kind of doubting his abilities. Rightfully so, I'd say. Yeah, so what Luke does, rather than land and face Vader head on, he kind of baits him into, chasing him in his X-Wing. He gets Vader to hop in his TIE Advance, and
Right.
you get into a little dogfight to distract him. The idea being that then Leia could move in and save Han.
Yeah, he knew that Vader was bluffing about killing Han because Han is too valuable of a prisoner.
Right. So it's a little bit of a gamble, I
Yeah.
would say, but
Right.
it does work. So Han is sent to Vader's the Imperial shuttle to go back to the Vader Super Star Destroyer is waiting up in orbit. Oh, one thing, yeah. So there's this other thing that comes into play later on where the Hutts, Jabba was the winning bidder. Vader kind of swept in underneath him and just said, "No, I'm taking him." So the other Hutts, led by our good friend
Six-Pack
Six-Pack
the Hutt.
the Hutt, yes, who, as it turns out, is actually an agent of the Crimson Dawn,
Yeah.
is kind of riles up the Hutts to say, like, hey, we can't be disrespected by the Empire like this. They need to be our partners, not our, we need to be their equals, blah, blah, blah. And I love the way the Hutts in the comic are like, because they all look like Jabba the Hutt, but you've got like these like they might be a slightly different shade of green, or you've got, Boku is
different
ripped.
color slime on them, or yeah.
And Jabba's got the trademark boogies coming out his nose all the time, so you know who he is. One of them has like a cute little crown on and like
Yeah.
a shawl.
Doesn't one of them have like a really big mustache? Or is that one of the Hutts from?
But now that I'm picturing it in my head, that's awesome. like Wilford Brimley, just with a slug body.
They did it in it was either Clone Wars or Rebels. I can't remember which one, where they had the Hutt family because of Zero the Hutt's betrayal. And
Zero the Hutt.
They all looked like fat, like they all looked like Marlon Brando from The Godfather. There was one that looked like him, and then there was another one that looked like somebody else from The Godfather. I feel like the Hutts were made to look like the Maggia bosses.
Well, that's pretty much what they are. Yeah.
Essentially.
Basically. So anyway, as Han is getting moved out to the Imperial shuttle, Boba kind of sets up in position to, intercept. But that is when the buddy cop team of Dengar and Valance, cyborg bounty hunter Valance, shows up. They get the drop on Boba. They get into a fight. Dengar ends up getting
marooned on an iceberg or something?
Yeah, like blown away, and he's stuck on an iceberg floating out into the frozen waters of this planet.
Valance gives up on him pretty quick too. He's just like, "Yeah, it's not my friend."
Well, yeah. There's a lot of that in this because they're kind of low life.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
So he agrees with Boba, and they basically say "Hey, you want to team up with me until it's convenient for me to kill you?" And he's like, "All right, let's try it." So then he's now Boba's his buddy. And they're going to try to... So the shuttle's taken off now, and they got to come up with a plan to somehow intercept the shuttle before it gets to the Super Star Destroyer.
That was probably the most talking that I've ever seen from Boba Fett in any scene, too, by the way.
I feel like a part of this comic was to set up Boba Fett as a character who talks. Because I said this last time, I'm reading it in Timur Morrison's voice now.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's getting me more excited for the show because I'm like, I want to hear Boba Fett. I want to get some...
Yeah.
So, how do you think Boba Fett's going to stop the shuttle? What does he have in his arsenal?
Seismic charges.
So actually, no. The shuttle gets stopped. I misspoke. The shuttle gets stopped by Lobot, who's on the Millennium Falcon. He's got that neural implant. Lando's android buddy Lobot. He's able to interface.
I'm going to do a whole episode on Lobot because he's a very nuanced character.
Apparently, he's
ups and downs.
Yeah, and he's always around in these comic book stories. He stops the shuttle dead, it just shuts it down completely. But then Boba Fett uses a seismic charge set to 20%, which is apparently a thing you can do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Instead of going bwang, it goes bwang.
It just knocks them out a little bit. It doesn't destroy them.
When it explodes, it's like one of those novelty horns, like. So then, just as they're dead in the water, the shuttle's just a sitting duck. That's when Boku the Hutt gets all of the other Hutt cartel to just go on the full offensive, go in for the kill.
I mean, he knows this is a suicide mission at this point, right? He's doing it for the dawn.
They just said doing it for the dong.
That's what I thought you said too.
I don't know, Boku.
Dawn.
I know what he said too. It could be.
I have a cold. I said dawn.
Yes,
The Crimson Dawn. He's doing it for the Crimson Dawn, right?
Yeah, so Kira has all these hidden agents everywhere in the Empire, in the Hutt cartel, possibly in the Alliance. Have we seen anybody in the Alliance yet? Who's working for the cartel or for Crimson Dawn?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
There's got to be. That'll happen because we'll get into that.
Unless Holdo is.
Oh my God. That's impossible. She has purple hair.
She knew they were onto them. That's why she sacrificed herself.
Maybe.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, Boku knows that this is basically a death sentence for all of them because you don't incur the wrath of the Empire. It's a bad idea.
Well, yeah, they had to know they were outgunned, or he had to know they were outgunned too.
I think he did. I don't think the others did.
I mean, I don't know. They seemed to just blindly follow whatever he was saying for some reason.
Yeah. Well, because they were a little PO'd, they were made a fool of.
Yeah, I guess he had him convinced, we can't let this stand, kind of thing.
Right. Jabba knows better, though. He's had enough run-ins with Vader to know you don't mess. So I feel like there's over 3 or 4 different comic books. Luke and Vader are dogfighting. There's just it just keeps going on, and One of them crashes, and then he gets back up again, and the other one crashes, and then he fixes
The
the ship.
droids help Luke out.
Right, the
That's
droid
weird.
Crush or whatever it was
Yeah.
called comes.
That was with Administrator Moore.
right.
I don't know, because she's super loyal to the Emperor, not to Vader. This whole
Yeah,
thing.
and the Emperor still wants Luke, so she's trying to save him.
Right. He thinks he's going to be a more powerful apprentice than Vader.
Yeah, but then there's an interesting scene where Vader his TIE fighter has crashed. He steps out of the TIE. Luke is swooping in with like a strafing run in his X-Wing, and he doesn't take the shot because
He's his father. I don't
he
know.
wants
He knows.
Return of the Jedi to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, when was that? Was that part of this?
Yeah.
That was in Star Wars 17, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it was part of their whole dogfight because they don't show that much of the dogfight in the main War of the Bounty Hunters line.
No, they don't at all.
But so
Right.
it is going on in the other comic in the Star Wars comic. Oh, okay.
Mostly, yeah.
That
Like
Vader
anything with
16.
Luke happens in Star Wars comics. You don't really
Yeah.
see Luke in War of the Bounty Hunters
Right.
very much.
Yeah.
But that whole scene with Luke aiming at Vader and not taking the shot was very reminiscent of Kylo Ren doing the same thing in The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah,
He could
That's a
take the
good point.
shot at
Leia,
Leia's ship, and he doesn't do it.
Yeah,
Well,
because
maybe-
he has other.
Maybe
plans.
because he was wasn't he told like he's got to face him, or was he not told at that point?
It's like he wouldn't be a real Jedi until he faced Vader
Right.
face
No,
to
that
face.
wasn't that in Return of the Jedi? Where
It
Yoda
might have been
says, "You
Return of
must
the Jedi,
Confront Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he just knew.
Maybe it's just the whole father thing. He's not willing to do that even
Yeah.
now.
Well, because I mean,
Right.
in the actual War of the Bounty Hunter, maybe I'm getting ahead a little bit, but so Vader gets called away by the Emperor, and he's just like, "I made you afraid, and that means you're not a true Jedi." And he's like, "I know, like not yet."
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
So-
He does. He calls him out. He says,
It's
"You're
almost
not a
like
Jedi."
he
Luke's like,
he
"No, I'm not."
knows he has to be able to face that fear in order to become a Jedi.
Do you think Luke's headed back to Dagobah in these comics between Empire and Return of the Jedi?
I would think so. Where else does he have to go?
Like, is there ever any hard evidence or mentions in Return of the Jedi that he had visited Yoda in between the two? It's kind of unclear, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, look,
crazy.
it says, we're going to the Dagobah system to keep a promise to an old friend. He doesn't say that, I haven't seen him since my original training.
Right.
It is ambiguous, yeah. So I guess
R2,
it's
we haven't
possible.
seen Yoda since Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, so it's possible he had been there.
I think it's got to happen. You got to bring Yoda back into the comics. I want to see Yoda again. I want to read backwards writing language.
yeah.
There's another great scene in that Star Wars 17 where the Millennium Falcon is dead in the water, so they need to get it started again.
That never happens.
And Lando's the man for the job. He knows that ship better than anyone. So he crawls in there and he's talking to it like it's L3, apologizing for leaving her behind. It's a nice scene though, and it's also he kind of is talking himself up into the rebellion, like kind of thinking like maybe this is a good path for him. And then Leia really lays it on thick after that, basically saying like, "Hey, this is where you belong. This is like it's actually pretty clever." She's like, "This is like the biggest gamble of all time." So I kind of feel like this is the point where Lando really like buys in to the rebellion, because that's another thing you don't really see between the two movies. It's like all of a sudden he's General Calrissian in Return of the Jedi. Well, at some point he had to really join up.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Right.
I honestly think it's when he put on Han's clothes. He's like, oh yeah, Now I'm in the rebellion.
Yeah, this vest is really fitting.
All right, so the Hutts are moving in to capture the shuttle. They're shooting these grappling hooks at it or whatever they are to reel it in.
Reminded me of Nihil.
It did, yeah. I had the same thought. The Nihil are always shooting hooks at ships. But it gets away. I can't even remember how. Something happens. TIE fighters probably. Vader.
I think the TIE fighters just destroy them, basically. They destroy a lot of the Hutt
overwhelming
fighters.
numbers. Yeah. And the shuttle does, in fact, make it to the Executor, to this Vader's Super Star Destroyer. Is it Executor or Executor?
That's a good question.
I think In my mind, I say executor.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I said it first, but then I
But-
thought I might be wrong.
Yeah.
So now Han Solo, frozen in carbonite, is on board a super star destroyer, and all of our heroes and anti-heroes have to try to get on board. So Boba Fett uses old clearance codes he had from Empire Strikes Back, and they let him on. So just like that,
It's an
Slave
old
One
code,
lands.
sir. That checks out.
Exactly. That's just Imperial protocol. Old codes are okay.
You forgot about all the somewhat comical stuff with Piet and how he like contacts Vader at one point and he's like, "Don't bother me again unless it's from the Emperor himself."
Oh, so yeah,
And
he
then
goes to the Emperor.
He's
Then.
like, "We need to let him know that the Hutts are attacking us or something." And the other officer is like, "But he said not to contact him again unless it's from the Emperor." So then he calls the Emperor. And then he gets the Emperor to give Darth Vader orders, basically.
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize maybe there's a reason Piet was the only guy not to get choked by
Right,
Vader.
yeah.
in Empire Strikes Back. He knows how to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, that Boba and Valance get on board the Executor on the Slave One, and then this is where we find out that Kira has people inside, even at the highest levels. An Imperial officer works for the Crimson Dawn, and they give clearance to the Falcon, the Millennium Falcon, to land on the Executor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where Lando gets into how she's got a history with Han, this Kira character. But that comes into play later.
Although I think I missed so Valance and Boba Fett like sneak their way on, and Valance knows like the layout or whatever, and so he can get them to where they're going. But then
Yeah.
how do Leia, Lando, and Chewie just shoot their way through? Is that
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they somehow got to Han first, too.
I don't know that we see that. I think they're just kind of there.
But going back to the Valance and Boba Fett thing, yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is where their kind of story comes to a close for now, because Valance leads them to the detention level, and that's where Boba's like, "Hey, remember when we said we would turn on each other once we kind of got what we needed? Well, here's a thermal detonator in your chest." And Valance is left just like a husk. He's not dead though. He does pull himself back
'Cause he's a
together
cyborg.
and kill tons of stormtroopers.
Bishop the android from Aliens.
Yeah. I really like him now. He's grown on me quite a bit over the course of the series. I want to see him make a live action appearance, and I have casting in mind.
Who? Henry Cavill?
You know what? I thought about that. He's too young though. If I'm thinking like Book of Boba Fett era,
Oh.
Josh Brolin.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see
So,
that.
question though, we talked about Dengar a couple episodes ago, and how there's that
Rothgar Dang.
Rothgar Dang in the visual dictionary,
Yeah.
who's cyborg. What are the chances it's actually a combination of Dengar and Valance?
Oh no. No. That's an amalgamation I really don't
Maybe
want
if
to
it was like Valgar Dang or something like that.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he just gets some ideas from Valance.
maybe.
But so what ends up happening, anyways, Leia, Lando, and Chewie make it to Han. They like got him. They're ready to kind of get him out of there. But then there's a breach. It actually reminds me of Rise of the Resistance. There's a breach in the hull all of a sudden, and it sucks Han out. And Boba Fett shows up just in time to see Han get pulled out into the vacuum of space. And this is an awesome scene. This is like what comic books are made
Well,
for.
so are they in space or are they in the atmosphere? Because
Probably like low orbit,
orbit.
I figure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But when Han gets sucked out, Boba Fett just leaps out after him, jetpacks down,
Yep.
grapple hooks him just as he's about to smash into like the frozen ocean below. I would love to see something like that in live action. It was just such a cool like hero moment for Boba Fett. I mean, he's not a hero. He's doing it just because he wants to finish his bounty job. But
Right. Yeah.
still.
But I mean, I could see Din doing that in The Mandalorian, like the same.
Yeah.
thing.
It's just a really cool scene. Just like seeing somebody free fall from a Star Destroyer and then jetpack to safety. So, but that's pretty much it. That's like Boba Fett gets Han back, and that's now he can finish the job. So that's really where this story for War of the Bounty Hunter ends. Well, Vader, of course, needs to get revenge on the Hutts for being so insolent, and he kills, I believe, all of them. So
I think
it leaves
so. Yeah.
Jabba. Jabba, I think, says he's like the sole authority remaining of the Hutts.
Yeah.
So Jabba's like the big Hutt now.
It's very reminiscent of Revenge of the Sith when he shows up to take care of all of the separatists.
Well, then,
That's true.
and then Jabba dies not long after in Return of the Jedi. So who's filling the void after that? Are the Hutts like extinct now?
Boba Fett.
No, well, he still says the
Well,
clans,
yeah, but
so there's still,
there's still
Hutt clans.
Now Hutta, their whole home planet.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe
Who's going to fill that void?
McRib Fortuna.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that in Book of Boba Fett. There's more to his empire than just Tatooine.
Yeah, that's a shame. We're not going to see a live action Boku the Hutt with his 18-pack abs.
Yeah, that would have been something.
So we should mention this last scene before the epilogue because I was not expecting that. With these spoilers, the Knights of Ren
Yeah.
there with
Oh,
Kira.
right.
Yep.
Did I miss
The
that?
big,
did
big
you-
splash
that was the
page
How did you
Yeah,
miss
like
that?
with
big
like all the
finale
members
page.
of Crimson Dawn. Who
Oh, I
were,
don't
like,
even
swearing
think I
allegiance to Kira.
looked at the. I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that was them there.
Ren is
Yeah.
there.
Ren is there.
The
Yeah.
dude with the white hair, the biker dude that
Yeah.
takes on Kylo as his
You're right.
So they're
Yeah.
protege.
they're part of Crimson Dawn at this point, which I thought was really interesting.
We need a. It's got to happen. We're getting a cartoon. It's gonna happen. We're gonna
Oh.
get a cartoon with Knights of Ren.
I don't
Darth
know if it's
Maul,
gonna be a cartoon.
Kira.
It's just gonna be all in
I
comics.
think it's going to be in comics as well because that's the next
a lot
one.
easier.
Is the rain
because it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter that much. So only
Well,
the people who are diehards are gonna, get into it and read it. And
Well, I
Well,
think
yes
they-
and no, because I mean, if you put Darth Maul in it, I mean, he is an animation character
Yeah.
at this point. He's only been in live action and one in a
well, he's dead at this
tiny
point, though.
appearances.
If you actually
No,
get,
I'm saying in a series that takes place after Solo, where you see
Well, that's
Kira,
different.
Maul,
I mean,
possibly
if you-
showing the Knights of Ren.
the Knights of Ren in cahoots with Crimson Dawn. That'll because
Yeah, well, that's going to
they
continue in
tease
the next comic
the
series.
Crimson Dawn series. Yeah,
because that's the other teaser there.
right.
I missed the Kylo Ren thing, I think, or I missed the Knights of Ren thing because I was too busy reading how there's 2 more chapters to come from this crossover event, which I did not realize. I mean, I knew there was another one coming. I didn't realize there were 2 more.
we kind of skipped over the side stuff that was happening with the other bounty hunters building their little A team.
Yeah, we're going to leave that skipped over.
Yeah, but that's
I don't
how
even know what you're
that's
talking
how
about.
the War of the Bounty Hunters is going to end with them doing their thing. That the team with those Tasu Leech, Zuckus, Bosk, and those other 2.
Oh, so that still plays into the War of the Bounty Hunters series
yeah.
before the Reign of Dawn, or what is it called? What's the next event?
Crimson Rain
Crimson Rain.
Reign. And then there's a third one after that.
called Purple Rain.
Chocolate Rain.
Chocolate.
I could see them doing an animated feature if they get Amelia Clark to actually voice Kira.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Just
a
get
pretty
her to
big
do a
name.
voice of Kira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean,
don't see her doing
she's
that voice, though.
teased doing more stuff for that character
Yeah.
too. So
Well, she signed a contract with them with Marvel, so maybe they'll just keep her going.
Could be.
Who is she in Marvel? Why am I?
She's gonna be in the Secret Invasion series that's
Oh.
coming out.
and then epilogue is Boba Fett at Jabba's palace giving him Han to kind of tie it all together.
And they basically are just like, yeah, it's all part of the job. We get it. Now
Yeah,
give me my
right.
money. And we know how that ends. Boba
Yeah.
Fett seems to just live happily ever
Stay
after
there.
on Tatooine until he gets eaten by a Sarlacc.
And so that's why I was wondering at what point this is in the timeline before Return of the Jedi. Like how soon is it that Return of the Jedi starts after this?
So if they're doing 2 more events with this, I assume it's going to fill in all of the time by the time they're done with it, it's going to fill in all the time between the two movies, between Empire and Jedi. Do you think this is a good way for them to do the comics, having like these big just have them all intertwine? I personally like this. I like this approach.
I do too.
I think if you're gonna read all of them, they might as well cross over because it makes it a little more interesting. You get to see things from different perspectives, which I like.
My problem is I need to actually buy them if I want to read them because
Yeah.
I don't know, getting the digital copies doesn't seem worth it because they're not worth anything later on. I mean, not that all the comics will be worth anything, but
yeah, if you're a collector, you're not going to sell them.
Yeah.
well, still,
In the
but
long run anyway.
yeah, I don't know. It feels more
And
like
if-
an investment than a digital copy.
By
of
the
this.
time
Yeah.
you're done
sometime.
reading them, they're pretty much not going to be worth anything anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
see,
if you respect them.
my deal with this is that since your book ended in such a narrow span of time, you know this stuff isn't really gonna matter. That's my deal. It's fine to get a little extra backstory and a little extra character development in it. That's great. I don't mind that. But knowing that nothing's gonna change in the long run
Right. Yeah.
bothers me. But
True.
when we're talking like stuff between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, that's great because it's 30 years you can deal with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Things don't, things can change, things can matter, but when it's just like a 2-3 year or less span, does it really matter? Not
I mean,
really.
it doesn't really matter, but I think it's just fun.
I think that's the problem Disney has right now is everybody wants to see these characters that they know from films and stuff, and so like the only way they
Right.
can do that is to fill in some of these gaps with backstory and character
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
And they're also
No,
trying to create characters, and I think it's working to some degree, new characters that you care enough about to see what happens to them. Like Valance,
Sure.
I'm kind of invested in
Yeah,
now.
no, I
Dr.
do
Aphra
like him.
still, And I would be really excited to see those characters appear in like the Book of Boba Fett or the Mandalorian or something. That would be
Yeah,
be a
right.
great payoff for this. So
Yeah,
that, like there's
but
that too. that-
It didn't need to involve Han and Carbonite. It would have been fine just to have him in Jabba's palace this whole time.
But that was a good way to pull Kira back in too. Like
yeah,
you know.
I mean,
Well, yeah, but did she
It
need
also-
to be?
it also
Well-
develops Han Solo a little bit more too, because it's like, oh well, he's
He's the linchpin for the whole galaxy.
Clearly-
apparently.
Right.
I'm not complaining. I know I'm sounding like I'm complaining, but I'm not.
For those-
It's just
For those people that enjoy fun, I think that the comic series, I think the comic series was great because, yes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what's going to happen. Han Solo's going to end up with Jabba.
well, first of all,
there isn't a whole big
none
thing.
of this matters. This is just Star Wars. But fine, go ahead. Sorry.
It's all entertainment anyway.
Hold on. None of this matters. But anyway, I enjoyed it a lot. I like seeing some of those bounty hunters that I have always loved, even though, most of the stuff that I love about them doesn't exist in the Star Wars canon anymore. It's nice to see them doing things again.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch the Book of Boba Fett now and look for any little Easter eggs that tie
Yeah.
into this.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
even
excited. I'm
even if
very
it's not a
excited.
character, even if it's not Josh Brolin showing up as Valance, I could deal with that. But just like little mentions of the events that happen here, I'll be like, oh my god, I read that. That's what it's all about.
well.
And so you're right.
I'm-
It doesn't have a big impact on galactic events, but it does make it fun to be a fan, and that's
I'm
what
going
we're
to
in
be
this for.
interested to see how they. I mean, I feel like they're setting this up to tie into post Return of the Jedi stuff with having the
Oh
Knights
yeah,
of
for
Ren
sure.
as part of
Yeah.
Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, that's what I'm more
Really
interested in.
interested.
That and High Republic stuff. That's centuries earlier. Stuff that
Right.
it's more wide open.
Yeah,
more
you don't know
room
what's
for
going to
growth.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's all.
Yeah. So there it is.
War of the Bounty Hunters.
Go read it. The entire 5 series, the actual main War of the Bounty Hunters series, is now in a single volume that you can buy. So
Oh, okay. It's good to know.
But again, if you want to get the full picture. You need to read everything because the main line itself,
Right.
to me, doesn't expand upon enough.
It gives you enough of the main plot of this event.
Yeah,
I
but
think-
well, you know what though? No one's going out and buying just the War of the Bounty Hunters comics. You're buying that if you're already reading Star Wars, if you're already reading Darth
Yeah.
Vader,
Or if
and you
you're
wanna
doing
get-
a podcast and you need to read it in
and you're
order
forced
to do the
to.
podcast.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I did. I read it first and was like, oh, that's it? Then I started reading the other stuff. It's
All the
like, oh, okay.
fillings.
Now it starts to make a little more sense, starts to tie in
Yeah.
other stuff. So, yeah.
Boring conversation anyway.
Overall, like I said, this gets me more pumped about Book of Boba Fett, which is only a few short weeks away.
Yeah.
Finally get some live action Star Wars back in our veins.
Yep.
And we can actually do some episodes that are timely for once.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Well, this is-
timely.
It's just timely about something nobody cares about.
So what's next week?
Next
Yeah.
week, well, let's see. It's the holiday season. We could talk about Life Day, maybe.
Yes. The holiday
Talk
special.
about.
Does everyone have their red robes and orbs they can hold?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. How many weeks until Boba Fett? 4?
3?
4?
When does it come out? The
Yesterday.
29th?
29?
So it's
So it's
Wednesday.
Wednesdays?
Comes out on
Yes.
Wednesdays, so we could
Oh, that's awesome.
theoretically
Watch Wednesdays, record Thursdays.
Yeah, we could theoretically record like right after.
Or just right after. But
Well,
We'll have to see what
I
we
mean,
can
like
swing.
like right after that.
We could talk about when Boba Fett says, "Remember that time that I lost Han Solo, and then I got him back, and then I lost him again, and then I got him back again. I gave him to Jabba."
Someone is bitter.
Even that even that though, I would be like, hey, I read that. You know, just like a little thing like
Do you remember that Diva Lompop? Yeah, I don't either. That's fine.
I think you're famous for delivering Han Solo. I didn't just deliver him. I lost him and then I had to get him back again. It was a whole thing.
I used my father's name to fight in an arena to get some money.
All right.
All right, let's wrap this up.
I thought we did already.
That's
Oh,
pretty much it.
Kristen
Social
do
media is
Kristen
a
do
thing.
social media.
What's
It
the
doesn't
point?
matter. We're not doing social media anymore.
We're not
I
doing
did-
it anymore.
I did
Thanks
Twitter
for
I did
listeners.
Twitter last week. I did a headliner video
Just-
last week.
Just email us, Gmail,
Warts and all.
warts and all everywhere.
Like and subscribe. Or something. Is that a thing?
Smash it.
Podcast?
Just click it. Smash it. Apparently, doesn't count if you smash it.
Thanks for listening. Await the dawn.
Wait,
Ah,
the
okay.
dawn,
Oh, wait, the dawn.
the crimson rain begins, or something.
Yeah, that's what all the sleeper agents said. Await the dawn.